Here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Monday edition of Before You Bet. Aaron live right now on the Coverage YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like and subscribe button right down there. So coming off a pretty decent weekend of sports betting, the NFL picks only went 2-2 yesterday. Unfortunately, Saturday night, though, hit a plus 450 SGP for UFC 310. Hope you guys had a chance to tail that one, and had another 2-1 in the NBA there on Friday. So stacking those 2-1 nights in the NBA. So a mixed bag here. Big show for you guys today. Monday Night Football. Not a whole lot going on there in terms of stakes for playoffs and whatnot, but I think some pretty good betting opportunities for the game tonight. Jingles will be along here in a matter of seconds. We have 6 total bets for the Monday Night Football game in Dallas with the Bengals in town. We have our winners and losers of the week for Week 14. Following that, just a little bit to talk about here in the world of college football. Brad Powers will be along probably about 20 minutes into the show to get into the 12-team playoff. Some bets that he's already placed and some reactions from the games out of the weekend. And we do have one game in the NBA tonight. Big one in Toronto with the Knicks in town. A lot of people excited about that. Jon Metler will stop by. We each have one bet for that game. And we will talk a little Juan Soto. That's what the guys in the chat are saying. Shout out to Juan Soto. Good for him. $765 million. Where's it go from here? When the next 25-year-old who's older than Soto comes along, $1 billion? Probably. Okay. If you guys want to participate in the show, be like the guys in the live chat and drop your best bets for the Monday Night Football game. Drop your opinions on whatever you want to talk about. We will respond to some throughout the course of the show. Okay, let's talk some NFL, some Monday Night Football, some reactions from the weekend. Our guy, Jingles, what's shaking, buddy? How you doing?
Monday. Losing day. The old accounts took a beating. Those Mondays rolling out of bed after like losing weekends, they're so slow. And like in our spot, just to like come back on and like back on social media, you're like, no, just need a little breather for a second here.
Publicly, when you're on the losing streak, if you get reverse swept, hey everybody, back again. Hey, it's part of the job, right? There's worse jobs that people can have. So so you will look to rebound. I will look to keep the Monday night run going. Mr. Monday Night, I will make no apologies about it. 23-3 run here on these Monday shows. So we'll try to keep that going. Before we get into the bets, so Jingles for Monday Night Football, let's start how we always do with the NFL segment on Mondays, our biggest winners and losers of the week. Let's start with the positives here. My 3 biggest winners of the week. They didn't win. He didn't win. Josh Allen, but his MVP backers, of which I am one, very well might win here. So check out the day he had yesterday. He accounted for 6 total touchdowns. He ran 3 in, 424 total yards of offense. He is now an overwhelming minus 450 favorite to win the Most Valuable Player award. Should be able to go 3-1 the rest of the way. Tough game versus the Lions here this week. One of the games of the season, Super Bowl preview. I don't know about that Lions defense. Then he's got the Patriots twice and the Jets at home. Second biggest winner of the week. How about Darnold Dimes? Oh my God, baby. This guy's setting himself up to get paid in free agency. 347 yards through the air with 5 touchdown passes. A season high 157.9 quarterback rating. He's had a quarterback rating of 100 or better in 11 of 13 games this season. Darnold Dimes is the truth, baby. And my third biggest winner, I'll make a case for Sean McVay here. You know, I think a lot of people, they saw the Rams coming to, or the Bills coming to town to take on the Rams there, and they probably marked that down as a loss for the Rams. It was not to be. Just when you think the Rams are out of it, they dropped 44 points on the Bills, 457 yards of offense. Check this out. Sean McVay is a closer, ladies and gentlemen. The Rams are 13-2 against the spread in his last 15 games played in the month of December. He finishes strong. They're a 2-point dog at San Francisco on Thursday. A game behind Washington for the 7th seed. It's going to be tough to get in, but this team does finish strong. Your 3 biggest winners of the week, Jingles. Who are we looking at?
Looking at the chat right now, Papao, congratulations. baby girl. Hope everybody's healthy there. Mr. Gerg talking about Turpin 50-plus receiving yards. I love that play. I was looking at his total yards at that same number. Might be able to get a run in that spot. They're just kind of getting the ball, but I'll get to it when we get to the plays. So winners, how about the Panthers, right? We talked about it. You talk about it ad nauseum too. Bryce Young continues to look good, and they continue to lose. It's a win-win in each situation.
Beautiful.
It's just a nice story because we cast guys away so quickly, right? Like we're throwing Caleb Williams away just because of the situation we see with Young here. And we appointed CJ Stroud, the king of all rookies, maybe too early as well. So the Bryce Young situation gives us a reality check on what it takes to be a 1-1 in terms of how things go. TDs in 6 straight, using his legs more, something I'll be looking at in his next game, 96 rushing yards over his last 4. But they've played KC, Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia in 3 straight losses and have lost in 1-score games in all of those. So like that, Baker and the Bucs was shouting at them last week. The move to get them obviously was 2 weeks ago in free fall with Atlanta. Atlanta has both of those tiebreakers, but they're just in free fall. I want nothing to do with Kirk Cousins, and you'll get to that. Tampa Bay, just a great schedule at the end too. Chargers at Dallas, Carolina, and New Orleans. That New Orleans game, just an absolute layup now with Derek Carr likely out with that fractured hand. And finally, the Seahawks, a team I couldn't figure out at all in the middle part of the season, right? Weeks 5 to weeks 12 before they started winning again. No Kenneth Walker. You think things are going to go south. Guess what? Zach Charbonnet goes for almost 200 total yards, 2 scores. They get a tough matchup down the run here. Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, and the Rams. That division could get very, very tight down at the end, especially with the Rams 6-2 in their last 8 games.
Let's get nasty.
That kids are overrated.
A couple teams, a couple of people. Biggest losers of the week. The biggest loser of the week. What a complete and total joke of a team and an organization the Chicago Bears are. So coming into a game on extra rest, off a loss so fucking humiliating that your coach gets fired, and you come out and you gain 4 yards in the first half, not 4 points, 4 yards in the first half of the game. That is the lowest first half yardage total of the millennium. An absolute joke for the Bears. So down 24-0 on half. They eventually lost 38-13. Quite simply pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, everyone likes this guy, but you got to call it what it is. Kirk Cousins. This is an athlete becoming washed up before our very eyes. I know he threw for a lot of yards yesterday. Doesn't matter. This 4-game stretch that he's on, 0-4, 0 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions for Cousins. You think the Falcons regret signing him to that contract coming off that injury? Absolutely ridiculous. So extra salt rubbed in the wound, getting smacked by 21 points at his former team. And my third biggest loser of the week, A.J. Brown. Dude, shut up. Your team won. Keep your opinions, your negative ones, to yourself. The reporters come out in the locker room after the game and they say, what's wrong with the team? What do you got to fix? He says passing. How do you think that is received by Jalen Hurts, Kellen Moore, the rest of the guys who might align themselves with Jalen Hurts? It's very negative. Guy, your team won, AJ. Do you remember what happened to your team last year when the wheels fucking fell off because of bullshit like this? Handle it internally. Don't go out to the media. You won the game. You're in first place in the division. Shut up. Take a deep breath. Figure it out. And one last victory lap. I might get a chance to take another one. Jets playoff backers. That's who I'm going to take aim at in this segment here today. So my favorite bet, I told everyone who would listen to me coming into the season, was Jets not to make the playoffs, plus 145. The Jets being favored to win the AFC East is probably the dumbest thing I have seen in my entire history working in the sports betting industry, which is almost 10 years now. This team is so talented. Shut up. I don't want to hear about how talented they are. They are 3-10. They've been pretty much healthy all season. This team absolutely sucked last season. They sucked coming into this season, and they showed their true colors. 3-10. people making a case for the Jets going on a playoff run because Aaron Rodgers was good 10 years ago. Give me a break. Your biggest losers of the week here, Jingles. Who are we looking at?
Would you be surprised at all, Joe, if you realized that the Jets are taking money again this week? 3-point road.
Speaking of stupid,
every week. Every week.
I mean, the Dolphins got down to 5.5, and the Dolphins did get lucky to cover. But I was ready to take. I told you guys this goddamn helmet was going to come off the shelf. I was going to replace it with an Ethernet cable down there that no longer works. But the Dolphins helmet can stay up for the remainder of the year. I don't care if they lose the game in New York or at Cleveland to end the season. It will give them a better draft pick. But they lost. I would have been so disgusted with them. But an exciting win. You don't get many of that for the Dolphins. When it's a bad team, sure. But, Jets taking money. Give me a break. Let's go Mac Jones here this week. All right, your biggest loser. Stop acting tough, says Tommy Finn.
Now he's fired up.
Motherfucker, I am tough, Tommy.
Way to go, Tommy.
Don't mess with me today. All right, what do you got here, Jingles?
I do love a Desmond Ridder revenge game angle from Dan in there. It might be worth the only way to bet that. I would say maybe a Ridder TD, but I'd probably need some pretty good odds on that. How about the Bills defense? I mean, Josh Allen accounts for 6 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 3 passing, loses a game. That defense, what we're kind of losing, and I know that snow game was difficult to judge, but San Francisco was doing what it wanted on the ground. And it wasn't until that fumble on the 1-yard line on San Francisco that game got turned over on its head because Buffalo couldn't stop anything at home in the snow. They gave up 457 yards to the Rams yesterday. And looking in hindsight, that was probably one of the better games to fade Buffalo all year, coming off a division sealer at home in the snow and then crossing the country on that spot. They're allowing TDs in the red zone at 75% clip over the last 3 games. They're 22nd in EPA since week 9, and they've allowed 20-plus points in 4 of their last 5 games. The only game they didn't allow 20 points was the snow game, where San Francisco probably was expected to score more and just kind of put things away with that fumble, as I mentioned. This is not a championship defense right now. All they do is tighten up at the red zone, and right now that red zone defense isn't really holding up. So I know Josh Allen, unlike A.J. Brown, is an absolute professional and will say, no, we got it. We trust our team, not winning games and being like, give me the ball. But no. How about bettors? 1 p.m. slate. It was ugly. It was ugly. Like, you look at it, you're like, this is what we're getting. There's good teams on buys, and we're getting Jacksonville, Tennessee. We're getting Derek Carr versus Drew Lock, who took, 9 passes to make a completion? Somehow Drew Lock finished with 49 passes in that game. They didn't want to pass. They ended up having to. Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, one-sided. Carolina, Philadelphia. I was on the Philly big spread in my pick 6, and that was just a hard game to watch. It like, Philly hasn't looked great. When they need to pass, I know A.J. Brown's saying it, but, they're a team that's heavily reliant on the run. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Jameis Winston is just – I thought they would run more. That was ugly. And then your Miami, the Jets game. I mean, Rodgers, first 300-yard game in 3 years. And finally – I'll take it now. My betting accounts took an absolute beating, not just on my releases, which I think went 1-3 on the show, but just what you do on losing games as a bettor sometimes, right? Had the Sunday night game, had Chiefs 4.5. That looked fantastic at halftime. I hate the Chiefs. There's nothing more to say about it. How much I absolutely despise that team.
Well, one of my losses of the weekend, I had the under in that Rams-Bills game. And didn't go very well. That was a poor read, but the Dolphins came through for my asshole parlay with the Steelers there. So maybe we'll look to keep those going throughout the remainder of the regular season, maybe into the playoffs. Who knows? Okay, so talked about it off the top. Not much for stakes. Include if you want to make a case for the Bengals still being alive, sure. Have fun with that. Playoffs. Bengals are not making the playoffs this year, but I think some pretty good betting spots in this Monday Night Football game going on tonight down there in Dallas. I will hit leadoff, and I will be doing something I've been doing pretty much all season, taking the visiting team to go over their team total in Dallas. In this case, we're going to take the Bengals to go over 27.5 points here. So the Bengals offense, an absolute buzzsaw here. Averaging 35 points over their last 4 games, taking on a Cowboys team that ranks dead last in points allowed at home. They're allowing 34.5 points at home this season. They also rank dead last in opponent yards allowed per play. 6 of their last 7 opponents have topped this number of 27.5, including 3 separate teams getting into the 40s. Now, the Giants only got to 20 points last week on Thanksgiving, but it is the Giants, and they still went over their team total of 16.5 in that one. And this Dallas defense, oh my God, they're 30th in yards allowed per pass attempt. They are dead last in red zone defense. So if the Bengals getting close, expect touchdowns, not field goal attempts. Joe Burrow playing at an MVP level. And there should be plenty of motivation here for this team. The Bengals, Zach Taylor, this is a guy, this is big spot Monday Night Football. He's coaching for his job. He very well could get fired here if things really go off the rails for the Bengals at the end of the season. So yeah, I'll take Cincinnati to go over that team total. Jingles, your first bet is on Cooper Rush. What do you like?
I just don't think Cooper Rush is being priced appropriately for most of this is priced in, let's be honest, right? But we have an indoor game versus the Bengals. Like basically everything on the over here on Cooper Rush should be in play. As 10 PK Kids says the same thing. He likes the over 225 passing yards. I think on the projections it covers. I think we have over 250. We released this on the Blitz. Plus 145. I'm willing to double dip. I'm going to play this again at 135. I'm going to keep it at one account, but I'll record it as 2 separate plays as I give it out at 2 different numbers. Projects is over a 50% winner. The Bengals, last 5 games, the amount of points they've given up is staggering. 174. That is insane. And like I said, just an indoor game versus an elite opposing offense, which, unlike the Giants game and Drew Lock, Joe Burrow should be keeping the Dallas offense engaged, especially the passing game. And I mean, Rico Dowdle just scored his first rushing touchdown of the year last week. He's I don't know, what, outside maybe top 12 running back in that system. So that's more passing. Brandon Cooks is back. Ferguson's back. There's a lot of things going. All of a sudden, they're probably as healthy as they've been offensively.
Okay, Prop City, Chase Brown. Another bet I've been making quite a bit, taking the opposing running back to go over his receiving yard total against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's do it again. Chase Brown, over 24.5. So he's on fire in this category. He's averaging 44 receiving yards per game over his last 4 games. Very high ceiling. He got into the 50s twice. He had 11 targets in one of those games. Chase and T. Higgins command a lot of attention, don't they? So Dallas, they're getting eaten up by running backs in the passing game. 37.8 receiving yards allowed per game to running backs. That is one of the worst in the NFL. A few standouts recently. Tyrone Tracy Jr. went for 33 on Thanksgiving. Joe Mixon had a 44. Bijan Robinson had a 59 against them as well. And who's the other running back here for the Bengals? He's got 0 competition for touches.
0
from that backfield. Joe Burrow is second on the team in carries in their last game. So Chase Brown, yeah, he's going to be on the field all night here. Hopefully a couple of dump offs. Find him out in the flats maybe. Hopefully he can take off and get a big one for us. So we'll take him to go over 24.5 receiving yards. Brandon Cooks, what do you like for him?
Over 26.5 receiving yards. He kind of worked his way back into the lineup last week off a lengthy absence, but still got a team high 7 targets and only had a 40% snap share. So we should see that increase. We saw Rush target Jonathan Mingo way too much for absolutely nothing. We'll see that go down. I believe Turpin still will get his as like the number 4, but Cooks is here as the number 2 guy. CD has no injury designation heading into this game, but we saw that shoulder injury flare up. If they're up big, or I don't know, there's situations where maybe he doesn't play at his full array, his full workload. And again, it just comes back to the Cincinnati defense. I know defense basing handicaps on defenses can be noisy, but 9.2 yards per pass allowed in their last 3 games is the worst mark at any team in all of football. They absolutely just give it up. And because of that offense, again, Dallas is going to have to pass.
Okay, what is slowly becoming my favorite prop type? Longest completion. Usually pounding these for Jordan Love. Let's pound one for Joe Burrow. His longest completion going to go over 38.5 yards here. He's been money in this category. He's topped this in 5 straight games and in 9 of 12 games overall. He's easily topped this, by the way, for what it's worth, in 3 straight indoor games. He doesn't play in many of them. He does rank second in passes of 30-plus air yards. So let's see him air a couple out to Chase and Higgins and let them do the rest of the work. And to bring it all together, Dallas allows a lot of big pass plays, 9 pass plays of 40-plus yards this season. That's one of the worst marks in the NFL. And as I pointed to, they get eviscerated at home. Their defense just flat out sucks. So we'll take Burrow, longest completion over 38.5. Okay, you got a big one here. We've been giving them out. Metler hit a big one there for us last Monday. You came kind of close on Thursday night, but break this one down for us.
Yeah, I still like the one I gave out for Thursday. It was 80, 80, and 20, all on the same team. It was Jameson, it was St. Brown, and it was Gibbs, and it was looking okay. But we got to that to 20-1. Trying to take it on this side with Higgins and Jamar and Chase Brown, that was 6-1. So we had to really get creative on this if we wanted to get to that 20 benchmark. Mike Gesicki still running a ton of routes. Obviously, maybe his usage is down, but 30-plus yards hit it last week. Should see some more targets. T. Higgins is the most targeted player on this team. 80-plus projects over that. Turpin, 20-plus rec yards. Let's go. Always something with him. Fast as beans, but could only take one. Doesn't run a lot of routes, but he does have stuff put into the playbook just for him. And then Cooper Rush, 250-plus. Might have to get there in garbage time, but it's there. All of those, if you head over to the covers projections from the Blitz, all of those projects as better than 50% winners. All the projections for all those numbers are over. So I'll put those 4 together for 20-1. Nothing crazy on the number side. Higgins 80 is probably the biggest, but Rush can certainly get to 250 just in garbage time alone.
Okay, a modest 20-1 parlay there for Jingles. Best of luck with that one, buddy. Best of luck with your other bets as well. Best of luck with everything you're doing for us here at Covers. Doing a great job covering the NHL with those stacked bets. You'll be right back with us on Thursday's show to cover Thursday Night Football. So until then, best of luck. And yeah, enjoy the game. Sometimes I don't know how to wrap these up sometimes. You know, you're doing
land that plane. All right, Joe. Always good. Appreciate it. Yeah, enjoy your Monday night, everybody.
All right. The people are excited to get Brad in here. Let's bring him in. Our guy down there in sunny Las Vegas representing the Texas Longhorns today. Brad, how you making out?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Okay, so the playoff is set. We're going to get into all that, but let's start like we always do on your Monday appearances here. What were your biggest takeaways from the conference championship games over the weekend?
Let's start with the playoffs in mind. The ACC championship game, SMU, Clemson, wild swings in that game with SMU getting outplayed for a majority of it. They're down 17 entering the fourth quarter. And I'm going to use, the narrative as far as Alabama's mindset. If you're a fan of Alabama, you're on the team Alabama, or like us, you have an Alabama to make the playoff ticket. You're in. Alabama's in if SMU, the favorite, wins, because Alabama's already in the playoffs according to the rankings last week. You're also in if SMU gets blown out and entering the fourth quarter. That's what's happening. SMU's getting destroyed. So worst case scenario, SMU comes all the way back, ties the game, loses on the last play. Committee throws SMU a bone. Alabama's out. SMU's in. So wild swing there. A couple of the other big games, obviously SEC championship game, Georgia wins there in overtime. Thrilling win there. But I just thought Texas was the better team. In fact, at halftime, 4-1 total yardage in favor of Texas. Not 4-1 total yards. We're talking 4-1. The comparison, it was like 250 to 60 in favor of Texas. They were the much better team. Somehow they didn't win. And then I think lastly, Big Ten championship game. Oregon won. Oregon covered. Moving forward, there was some issues with Oregon at the line of scrimmage that would concern me. Penn State ran for nearly 300 yards and 8.7 yards per carry. That's not a winning formula if Oregon wants to beat the upcoming gauntlet.
Okay, so we've been talking about it since you've been coming on at the end of August here. The playoff, it is set. The 12 teams have been selected. So what do you think? Did the committee get it right? Anyone get screwed? What changes would you make, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I'll preface by saying, of course, I would favor Alabama over SMU on a neutral by more than a field goal. Same goes for Ole Miss. That's not how this works, though. Vegas power. If it was just a Vegas power rating, then you just ask the guys in Vegas, and boom, bang, there's your 12 teams. I think they got it right as far as who's in and who's out. I don't think no one really got screwed getting left out. I know Alabama feels like they did, but don't lose 3 football games, especially one late in the season by 21 points to a mediocre 5-5 Oklahoma team at the time. Same goes for Ole Miss. Don't lose, the 3 games as a double-digit favorite outright. You can't punish SMU for losing on the final play of a championship game. You could have talked a lot of people into punishing them if they'd have lost by 17. But the way that game played out, you can't punish them. Who did get screwed, believe it or not, is the number 1 team in the country, the only unbeaten team, Oregon. Have you seen their pathway? Got to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. Ohio State's number 3 in my power ratings. Then if they win that game, they got to play Texas, most likely. Texas is number 2 in my power ratings. And that's just before getting to a national title game that they got to play 2 of the other top teams. So what would I change quickly? Just seed the teams. Conference champs can get automatic bids. The Arizona States, the Boise States of the world, but they shouldn't be getting 3 and 4 seeds.
Yeah.
10, 11, and 12 should be Boise State, Arizona State, Clemson.
Yeah, that would be fair. Okay, so despite that tough road, Oregon right at the top of the odds board, depending odds vary by sports book, obviously, but Oregon plus 350, Texas plus 350, small drop off to Georgia. Plus 380, despite the injury to Carson Beck there. Ohio State plus 475, all the way down to Boise State at around 70-1. So what do you think of the national championship futures odds board? Who's overvalued? Who's undervalued here, Brad?
Overvalues Georgia. Very fortunate to win their last 2 games. I think people probably already forgot about the 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech where they got outplayed for a majority of that game. Again, if you gave me the box score, and didn't look at the final last week against Texas, they would have lost by 10 to Texas. So very fortunate there. And then you briefly touched on it. The major reason why they're overvalued, Carson Beck's not going to play, in my opinion, in the Sugar Bowl at least, maybe the other games as well. So if he's not playing, people are going to be stunned. If they played Notre Dame in the quarterfinal, likely Georgia's an underdog in that game. So they can't be the 3rd favorite if you're an underdog in the quarterfinals. Undervalued's Penn State by easily the easiest path. Home game against SMU, Boise, then after that, where there'll be a significant favorite in both games.
So do you know anything about the backup there for Georgia? Like, is that a significant line move if it isn't Beck and it is the backup?
So it's Gunnar Stockton. Played really well, actually. Moved the team better than Carson Beck did in the SEC championship game. But that's, guy, how many times we see that the backup comes in. He's a different type of player. He runs a lot more than Carson Beck. Doesn't have the arm talent. I think at the start of the season, I would have made the downgrade 6 points. Carson Beck hasn't played well this year. So it's probably closer to a 3 or 4 point downgrade, which is still significant when you're talking about parity in college football this year. And you got 6-7 teams at the top, only separated by a couple of points.
Okay, best bet time. So we're going to be all over bowl season here. We're probably going to cover most of, if not all of the games, from the little dinky ones to the big playoff games here. We're actually later on in the week, we're going to record a playoff specific special. We'll get Brad's overall winner pick, some sleepers. We'll dive deeper into these first round matchups. But you have one circled here, a best bet for one of these playoff games. You like Texas as an 11-point favorite over Clemson. Why do you like the Longhorns?
Well, number 1 starts with number. I made it 14. So that's a pretty significant disparity at this point in the season with my power rating. So why is there disparity? Well, I think each of the last 2 weeks, Texas box score much better than the final score, both against A&M, which I graded more like a 24 to 31 point win. They won by 10. And then last week, a game that should have been a double-digit win for Texas, they somehow lose in overtime to Georgia. So that's probably most of it. And then I gave out Clemson last week on the show. We cashed from start to finish with Clemson as an underdog against SMU. I didn't like what I saw, particularly at the end of the game. They were gassed at the end of the game. If I'm Texas, I run tempo here. So I wasn't impressed, even though Clemson won the game last week. So I didn't upgrade their power rating. Add it all up. We're laying it with the big favorite, Texas minus 11.
Okay, so a light week ahead of us in college football. We, of course, have Army Navy. And what's the other game? Western Michigan versus...
that bowl game. Yeah, Western Michigan against South Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be planning my day around that one. But, people are always interested in the total here for Army Navy. It's 40 points. And one of your best bets is the under.
Yeah, we're going to get out in front of an anticipated line move here. Obviously, you got the under stats out there as far as the Surface Academy unders, but let's remove that. Let's just talk, obviously you're paying a premium wanting to go under here, but you're not paying as much of a premium as you had the last couple of years. So if you're going to comparison off this 40 number, each of the last 10 meetings have gone under 40 between Army and Navy. But the last couple of years, the games went over the total. Why? Total was 28.5 and 31. We had double overtime in one that put the game over. And then last year, you had a score that took a safety on the final play of the game that put the game over. So I am not anticipating overtime or a final play score here. And plus, we're not dealing with total in the 30s. It's 40. So obviously, a lot of running, slow tempo, a lot of running clock, like both teams' defenses under 40. That's going to close 38-ish.
Okay, Brad, so you got a lot of work to do handicapping all these bowl games. How much of a pain in the ass is it not knowing who's going to be in, who isn't? Or is that something that you kind of like as a sports bettor when maybe you might be able to take advantage of a few situations?
Oh, I like it because if you're first to the news, then you can get some of your best value bets of the year. So I like it. It's more of a pain to give out to people because, you can have one opinion, one day. The quarterback announces he hitting the portal the next day. Well, there goes that bet that I gave out. So it's tougher to give out widely available numbers throughout bowl season. But as far as a bettor, clicking bet when you see somebody's transferring or coaches leaving, it's nice.
Okay, there you have it. Okay, Brad, thanks for joining today. Best of luck with the bets you've already made. Best of luck with all the handicapping that you have to do for this avalanche of bowl games ahead of us. And we will catch you later on in the week to do a deeper dive into the 12-team playoff.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for having me. And we'll have more bowl bets. They got to become widely available. So I'll see you guys Friday.
Indeed. All right, buddy. Take her easy.
Take care.
All right. One NBA game tonight. And we're covering it, baby. That's what we do. We're a sports betting show. We give out picks. Jon Metler, how was your weekend, buddy?
Good. I don't even know. I was trying to look. Why are the Raptors and Knicks even? Why are they the one game playing today? I don't know why.
That's a marquee matchup.
Yeah, I don't know how that schedule plays out for them.
Game here, yeah.
Because people are kind of getting an NBA Cup break here because the quarterfinals will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and then there's some games Thursday, Friday, and then semifinals Saturday. So I don't know why the Raptors and Knicks are even playing today, but we'll take it. We got one game.
They're going to bite into that Monday Night Football rating tonight. The eyes of the world will be on Toronto. Okay, Juan Soto, let's just kind of kick this around briefly before we get into our best bets for the NBA. So the largest deal in professional sports history, 15 years, $765 million. I don't know. I don't have an issue with it by any means. Good for Juan Soto. This is how baseball works. I find sometimes these things kind of can backfire a little bit. If he doesn't come out of the gates absolutely flying here for the Mets. And I said it off the top of the show, I guess, where does it go from here? There's probably an 18-year-old phenom baseball player out there right now who's part of some system, and I don't even know his name. Maybe he's not 18 years old, but maybe it's Paul Skeens. Can you imagine Paul Skeens gets a little bit better into his sophomore season, into his third season, into his fourth season, then he hits free agency? How much is Paul Skeens going to get if he stays healthy and he keeps pitching like he did in his rookie season? We're probably not, by the end of this decade, do we see $1 billion contract for a baseball player? I mean, they're 15 years. So good for Soto, good for the Mets. That guy, Steve Cohen, that's like a drop in the bucket for him. That's probably an exaggeration, but Yankees fans should be really concerned about this. This is a changing of the guard for New York baseball and the power structure among those two teams. That's like the Clippers and the Lakers being the top two teams going after LeBron and his prime and him saying, you know what, I'm going to go to the Clippers. That would be a pretty big deal, right? Yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts? I'm not surprised by it. The Mets were the favorite, I believe, or right up at the top of the odds board with the Yankees. That's who I would have picked. What do you think of the deal here for Soto?
Well, first off, I don't think anyone's going to take the Clippers over the Lakers, even with the new arena. The Lakers, it's like you're saying, and you haven't really seen that in baseball. Like it is usually the Yankees. You're going to New York, you're going to Yankees. So it is kind of a swing but the Mets have more money than everyone. They just have a ton of money. I think it's I don't know if it's the dollar value that caught me off guard, like the 760 million or whatever it was. I think it's the 15 years. I was like, whoa, that's a lot of years. Like he's 26, he'll be 41. You just know it's not going to be a good contract at the back end of that. I don't know. I've always been a fan of like more money, less years. If I was to sign a free agent, like when I see my favorite teams sign a free agent, I'd rather them give way more money and cut down the years. And I think I was like kind of scarred for life. The Tigers did Miguel Cabrera, whatever it was, 10 years, 12 years, 300 million. I know he got more than whatever they spent to build Comerica Park at that time. And it was just such a bad contract for so many years. And it was just like, he's still here. And they kind of did that retirement tour for him. And I was like, oh my God, like get this guy off the team. Like he had great years, but like the end of it was so bad. And I don't know, the years kind of got me 15. I was like, whoa. So that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to like a lot of people are like, oh, he got paid more money than Ohtani. Well, he's 4 years younger than Ohtani. It's crazy. I'm looking at the biggest contracts in MLB history right now. Soto's at the top. Ohtani's right behind him at $700 million. That got off to a really good start. They won the World Series. He went 50-50. He's going to be pitching next season for them too. So no regrets there. I think, you know, the Angels had their hands tied. Of course, they were going to pay Mike Trout, but that one has gone to shit. He's played in 86 or fewer games in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Barely half a season for Mike Trout. Mookie Betts, you can't knock that one. $365 million. Aaron Judge, $360. It's crazy to think, though, that Soto got paid $400 million more than Aaron Judge. I know he's younger than him and stuff. Machado got big money. Bryce Harper did. I think you can knock the Fernando Tatis one a little bit. He got paid $340 million. Then he popped for steroids. He's had trouble staying on the field a little bit. But I don't know. For the most part, I think most of these big-time contracts in baseball have worked out. So hopefully this kind of opens up free agency a little bit. Corbin Burns and the Pete Alonsos of the world probably going to be on new teams here by the end of the week. And we will discuss it here on the show. Ron Nicole says, how screwed are our poor Jays with Vladdy seeing this money? He ain't re-signing in Toronto now. I don't know about that. I think the Jays got to get on top of this. If Vlad Jr. leaves the Blue Jays, I might have to write them off as my base. That is the team of my childhood, right? My best memories watching Joe Carter hit that walk-off home run as a little kid. The Jays have money. I mean, they were in on, unless they were pretending, they wanted to pay Ohtani to come. They wanted to pay Soto. It's probably might be good news for Vladdy. Now they got all that money. Sign the guy. Let's go.
I was gonna say, I wonder if like teams like the Jays, they all have money, but they're not the Mets, right? If they start seeing these contracts like Vladdy, they don't have 15. He's not gonna get 15, 760. But if they start looking to buy out those arbitration years, and like when they are like 21, 22, now we'll give you the 15 years and this big money. And you're also buying out those ARB years just to kind of like fight back versus, because once it gets to this point and they hit this free agency, they don't have Mets money. You know what I'm saying? Like he is gone. So like they kind of got to do something, right? Well, it's kind of interesting.
He's like a lot of these guys hit free agency when they were 30 years old or right around there. I think Vladdy Jr. is still only 26 years old. He's been in the big leagues forever. He doesn't really get hurt. He's always healthy. He had a down season 2 seasons ago, but was good last year. Pretty good. I think he's a decent defensive first baseman. He sucked in the playoffs, though. So, you know, if Mookie Betts is going to get $365, they're probably going to have to pay him $400 million, I would say. We shall see, though. I mean, Soto's been extremely clutch in the playoffs, too. So that's one of the reasons he is getting paid. Okay, big NBA game tonight. We each have a bet for it. I'll let you go first. What do you like for Knicks Raptors tonight in Toronto?
So I bet Jalen Brunson 25 plus points minus 120. And then when we submit the graphic, it was the best was 25.5 minus 106, which is actually pretty similar to that. Now it's going up. It's about 26.5, about minus 106 now. So it's moving, and it is kind of moving with what I thought. I was kind of surprised to see that number this morning because Karl-Anthony Towns did not play on Saturday, and Karl-Anthony Towns is questionable tonight. He was on the board for this game, and I was kind of surprised to see that because typically with superstars, what they'll do is they'll just post the odds for Karl-Anthony Towns, Then if he's out, then they put everyone else up. I was surprised they had Towns up and everyone else when this kind of feels like a spot he wouldn't play in. Like, you're playing the Raptors, you're in Toronto, you're traveling. They are playing the NBA Cup on Wednesday. They're not one of these teams that are off all of a sudden all the way till Friday. So, I mean, the Wednesday games, they all count as one regular season game, but I would say that quarterfinal NBA Cup feels a little bit more important. So if he was to sit out one more game, so that it kind of was all from that. I had this, so the 24.5, it was like minus 230 for the over. And that was with Towns playing. So there was a nice edge with Towns playing. I just thought this bet could catch an additional boost where Towns maybe doesn't play. And then you're going to see this total climb. It probably is climbing in the market because Towns is probably leaning more towards questionable. So if you're looking at a 25.5 minus 120 at that price, like minus 180, if you're looking at a 26.5 minus 105, that's priced about minus 150. So you can hit all these numbers, and that's with Towns playing. There's a chance he doesn't play, and then this bet just keeps looking better. So I went Brunson over on points.
Okay, I like an over as well. I like the Knicks to go over their team total, set at 118.5. So this is their first meeting with the Raptors here this season. When they went against them last season, they went over that number all 4 times quite easily in a few of them. They had a 145, a 126, a 136, and a 119. Check out the Raptors versus good offenses here lately. They're getting absolutely smoked. The Mavericks scored 125 against them last time out. The game before that, the Thunder scored 129. A few games against that, the Cavs got to 122. Against them, Toronto is 22nd in defensive rating on the season. The Knicks are a great offensive team. They are number 1 in offensive rating for the season and number 1 over the last 10 games as well. So they are in good form on the offensive side of the court. And I like the game situation here for the Knicks as well. They're coming off a loss, an ugly one. They were an 8-point favorite versus the Pistons in their last game. They lost that one outright. They're also off tomorrow, not on a long road trip or anything here. A quick flight over to Toronto. So Knicks, no excuses here. I like them to go over 118.5 on their team total. And NBA Cup tomorrow, right, John?
Yeah, 2 quarterfinals, then 2 quarterfinals on Wednesday as well. Kind of interesting. The Magic play the Bucks tomorrow. Magic. I know I'm a fan, so I don't really want to give the Magic a bunch of spotlight here, but I think Jamal Mosley, Coach of the Year, could be the strongest narrative going if this guy continues to win with, Paolo Banchero's been out. Now Franz Wagner's going to miss 4 weeks. They beat the Suns yesterday without both.
Yeah.
So if he keeps his team at the top of the Eastern Conference, I think that's something we got to look a little closer at. But they're up against it here. They're playing the Bucks tomorrow, and they're going to be without their top 2 guys in Milwaukee. So that will be interesting.
Indeed. We're going to be all over that tomorrow. Okay, to recap the NFL picks at the top of the show, if you missed Nick Chubb, that is not the right one here. I have the Bengals over their team total 27.5. Chase Brown over 23.5 receiving yards. Joe Burrow, longest completion, over 38.5. Jingles has Cooper Rush over 1.5 pass touchdowns. Cooks over 26.5 receiving yards. And that monster same game parlay 20-1. If you want to go back to the NFL section, you can get the breakdown of that. NBA best bets, I like the Knicks to go over their team total of 118.5. And Metler had Jalen Brunson to fill it up tonight over 25.5 points. And that does it for the Monday edition of Before You Bet. We're going to be right back with you, though, tomorrow. Professional sports bettor Hitman will kick things off for us, get some opinions on everything that's going on of interest in futures markets and some look aheads to best bets for week 15 of the NFL season. Alrighty, absolutely flying. And these NBA Cup games as well. We will be covering those and giving out some best bets, hopefully celebrating another winning show here as well. Thank you to all of my guests for joining today. Thank you to producer Mick for putting the show together. Thank you to our sponsor, BetMGM. Make sure you check them out for all your sports betting needs. And thank you to all the great viewers for tuning in today. Best of luck with your bets tonight, and we will catch you guys again tomorrow. Let's go Knicks! Woo!